Hello, dear students. Greetings of the day. I, Muhammad Zishan, welcome you to the online classes of Blooming Wet Scott School, Sambal. Dear students, today we are going to study about Buddhism. We are studying chapter number 3, that is Jainism and Buddhism. And in that chapter, today we are going to take the topic Buddhism. So, Buddhism, we all know that it was founded by Gautam Buddha, right? And how it flourished and how it came into existence. It came into existence because it catered to the religious striving of time. Religious striving of the time. What was that striving? That striving was uh, a strive for having a religion which was not as complex and rigid as Vedic religion, which is not having, you can say, uh, rituals, okay, which is not based on rituals and various rites like Vedic religion, and we should not also uh, have a path full of penance and austerity, right, and extreme discipline and extreme austerity, right. So Jainism was a religion which gave equality to human beings, but it was based on very, disciplined teachings. Its followers were supposed to live a life full of austerity and severe penance, whereas Vedic religion was based on so many religious rites and various other uh, uh, various other practices. Okay, those were irrelevant practices. Okay, so people felt a need to have religion which was a middle point or a midpoint between these two religions. Okay, a religion which was moderate, having some traits of Hinduism also, that is Vedic religion also, and it should not be as extreme as Jainism also. Okay, so that need, that striving was catered, and the religion, Buddhism religion, came into existence. Now, it was midway between Hinduism and Jainism, and it was founded by Gautam Buddha. Gautam Buddha, founder of Buddhism, was born in 563 BC at Lumbini in Kapilvastu, right? So, Kapilvastu is a place in Rumindehi district, Nepal, and there one village Lumbini is there, and at Lumbini in 563 BC, 563 years before the birth of Jesus Christ, Gautam Buddha was born. So where was Gautam Buddha born? Gautam Buddha was born in Lumbini in Kapilvastu, which is at Rumindehi district, Nepal, and he was born in 563 BC, and he belongs to Sakya Kshatriya clan. He was also a Kshatriya. So both Mahavira as well as Gautam Buddha, they both were Kshatriyas. Then next is his father Shuddhodhan was the Republican king of Kapilavastu, and mother Mahamaya was a princess of uh, Kolia Republic. So his mother was also a princess, and his father's name was Shuddhodhan, right? And his father was a king of Kapilvastu. And after, so what is his father's name? Shuddhodhan. Mother's name Mahamaya. And after his mother's early death, he was brought up by his stepmother and aunt Mahaprajapati Gautami. Okay, so Buddha was brought up by Mahaprajapati Gautami. Mahaprajapati Gautami was his stepmother. Okay, his aunt. Okay, and his father married him at an early age to Yashodhara. Okay, most of the people says that as he was brought up by Mahaprajapati Gautami, that is why he is called Gautam Buddha. Okay, so his father married him at an early age to Yashodhara, princess of Shakya dynasty, from whom he had a son Rahul. Okay, so he was married to Yashodhara. His wife's name was Yashodhara, and he was having a son also. His name was Rahul. Then after that, the four incidents took place. Okay, these were the four sites which took place in the life of Buddha, and these four sites are called great sites. Okay, and these four sites changed Siddharth into, you can say, Buddha or Lord Buddha, Gautam Buddha, right? Because of these sites only he renounced his family and went to search the truth. Okay, so these four sites were a site of an old man, a deceased person, a dead body, and an ascetic, right? So he was moving with Channa, his charioteer. Okay, he was visiting his town. Okay, and during his visit he found an old man. Okay, and he never saw an old man before. Okay, and when he saw the old man, he asked from Channa, ke, who is he? Then Channa told, ke, he is an old man, and every person has to uh, go through that age. Okay, you then he asked him, will I also go through that age? Then Channa said, yes, you will also become old person one day. Okay, then he saw a deceased person. Okay, then he said, okay, who is he? Then he said he is a diseased person and anybody can be diseased. Okay, then he saw a dead body. Then he asked from Channa, okay, will I also die? So he said, yes, you will also die one day. Okay, so he got disappointed. Not disappointed means he became anxious. Okay, quite tensed about the things. Okay, he faced such things and he saw such people for the first time, right? And why he saw such people for the first time? Because during his birth only some sages told that this person may become either a great warrior or a great sage, right? And if he if he get anxious, or if he become curious about the people, about their sufferings, okay, then he will become sage. Okay, otherwise he'll become a king. So his father wanted to be him a king, and he uh, managed the place in such a way that nothing bad was visible to Gautam Buddha. Every good thing was in the reach of Gautam Buddha, and every bad thing was prevented to come across Buddha or Siddharth. Okay, then he saw that ascetic person, he was searching about the truth. Okay, then he asked Channa what he is doing. Then he said Channa said he is searching for the remedies of all these things. He is searching truth. Okay, then he thought, I'll also search the truth. Now uh, he, at the age of 29, he renounced home. Okay, he renounced home, he left his home, and then this was his Maha Abhinishkraman in Hindi it is, and which is a very famous term, Maha Abhinishkraman, or great going forth, or the great renunciation. He became a wandering ascetic. Okay, so he became wandering ascetic. This is also this the action of leaving, the action of Buddha leaving home is called great renunciation or Maha Abhinishkraman or great going forth. Then Alara Klama and Udraka. Alara Klama and Udraka. These two were Udraka Ramputra. They were the teachers of Buddha first. Okay. Then at the age of 35, under a peepal tree at Uruvela, Bodh Gaya, on the bank of river Niranjana, modern name Fagu, he attended Nirvana or enlightenment. After 49 days of continuous meditation, now he was a fully enlightened person, Buddha or Tathagat. Okay. So at the age of 35, under a people tree. So one asks you at which age Buddha got enlightenment? At the age of 35. Under which tree? Under people tree. Where? At Uruvela. Where is Uruvela? In Bodh Gaya. On the bank of which river? River Niranjana. What is the modern name of Niranjana? Fagu, right? He attained Nirvana, enlightenment. After how many days? After 49 days of continuous meditation. Right now he was fully enlightened. He became Tathagat. Okay, the person who knows everything, enlightened. Now, Buddha delivered his first sermon at Deer Park, Sarnath, to his 5 disciples. Okay, this I have already told you. This is known as Dharm Chakra Pravartan, turning of the wheel of law. Okay, so when the Buddha gave a sermon to his 5 disciples at Deer Park, right? At first sermon at Deer Park, Sarnath, then that thing was called Dharm Chakra Parivartan, turning of the wheel of law. Then he died at the age of 80 in 483 BC at Kushinagar. So where Buddha died? At Kushinagar. Where Buddha gave his first sermon? Sarnath. Where Buddha got enlightenment? At Bodh Gaya, Uruvela. Near which river? Near Niranjana. Who was the teachers of Buddha? Udarka Ramputra and Alara Kalama. Right? These things you have to, these facts you have to remember. Then he died at the age of 18, 483 at Kushinagar, identical with the village Kasia in Kushinagar district of UP. Okay, so this is in UP, Kushinagar district. This is known as Mahaparinirvan or final blowing out. Okay, so this, the death of Buddha is called Mahaparinirvan. So Buddha got Mahaparinirvan at Kushinagar at the age of 80. Now we will study, this was all about Buddha. Now we will study teaching of Buddhism. Okay, what Buddhism tells. So Buddha followed a simple path and inspired people to lead a simple life. His teachings have been reconstructed from the stories in Sut Pitaka. Okay, so from Sut Pitaka, his teachings have been reconstructed. Now we will study what are his teachings. So there are 4 noble truths. Okay, the first truth: the world is full of suffering and sorrows. This you should remember. Okay, you must have studied in class 9, class 6 also. The world is full of suffering and sorrow, and desire is the cause of these sufferings, right? And suffering can be stopped by killing desires, and desire can be killed by following Ashtangika Marg, eightfold path. So he told 4 truths. The first truth was that the world is full of sorrows and suffering. This is, everybody is suffering here in today's world. Okay, everybody now and then they have pain, sufferings. Okay, right? So this is the reality, harsh reality of the world, because the world is full of suffering and sorrow. Now we should understand the reason why there is suffering and sorrow in the world. This suffering and sorrow is in the world just because of our desires, which are not fulfilled. Okay, if you are desiring for having an Audi or a BMW car and that is not fulfilled, then you become upset, then you become full of sorrow, right? You suffer. Clear? So means the first reality, the first truth is that the world is full of suffering and sorrows. And what second reality is that desire is the cause of all these sufferings. Okay, and then third reality is that these sufferings can be stopped by killing desire. If you want to stop these sufferings, then you will have to kill desire. Okay, and how desire can be killed? Desire can be killed by following Ashtangika Marg or eightfold path. Okay, that is the fourth noble truth. Now, what is eightfold path? The first is right action. Okay, your action should be right, your thought should be right, your belief should be right, your living should be right, speech should be right, effort should be right, recollection should be right, and meditation should also be right. So all these things: right action, right thought, right belief, right living, right speech, right effort, and right recollection, right meditation is there, then you will not have desires. Okay, you will kill your desires, and once the desires are killed, then your sufferings will also be killed. Now Buddha also gave code of conduct. Okay, not to tell a lie, not to own property. Like in Jainism, in aparigraha is there, right? Not to own property, and not to consume alcoholic drinks, not to commit violence, not to indulge in corrupt practices. Okay, these things, these are the code of conducts. Then other teachings of Buddhism are the karma theory. Then Buddhism give stress on morality also, right? And they give teachings about nirvana and universal brotherhood also, right? So these are the teachings. Now, next is no faith in rituals and sacrifices. Buddhist people do not have faith in rituals and sacrifices, right? And they follow ahimsa, right? They follow ahimsa, non-violence. Now we will study about the organization of Buddhism. In Buddhism, Sangha is there. The organization for teaching of Buddhism came to be known as Sangha. Okay, the organization which was responsible for teaching of Buddhism came to be known as Sangha. The principles that govern the Sangha are the following. The first is membership. The members of the monastic orders were called bhikshuk or monks and bhikshunis or nuns. They were required to take oath Buddham Sharanam Gacchami, Dharmam Sharanam Gacchami, Sangam Sharanam Gacchami. Okay, I am going in the shelter of Buddha, I am going in the shelter of Dharma, I am going in the shelter of Sangha. Okay, so Sangha was very, very important. It was an organization which was responsible for teaching of Buddhism, right? And there were some principles which were governing these sanghs, right? And the members of these sangh or monastic orders were called bhikshuk, okay, and bhikshunis. Now they were supposed to follow these 10 commandments, okay, to speak the truth, to abide by or follow brahmacharya, not to harm creatures, not to own property, to shun music and dancing, means to shun means to stop music and dancing, to take meals only at fixed times, not to use intoxicants, not to use scented goods, not to sleep on cushions, not to keep money. So these commandments and these memberships, okay, these are the uh, means the person who want to take membership of sangha, okay, they need to follow these 10 commandments. Then after that we are having viharas. So viharas, these were these were the monasteries where monks and nuns used to reside. Okay, these were the monasteries where monks and nuns used to reside, vihara. So we have studied about three important components of Sangha: membership, 10 commandments, and Vihara. Now we will study about the sects, okay, of Buddhism. So Buddhism is divided into two sects, Hinyan and Mahayana. Hinyan, its followers believed in original teaching of Buddha and denied the existence of God. They did not believe in idol worship. Whereas Mahayana is, it is a combination of Hinduism and Buddhism. Mahayana believes that Buddha was incarnation of God. They believed in idol worship and Swarga also. Means Hinyan denies, not denies, they deny existence of God also, right? But most of the time they remain silent on the existence or on the question of existence of God. Whereas this Jainism straightforwardly denies the existence of God, but Buddhism remains silent on the question of existence of God, right? But still, Hinyan is the orthodox, you can say, the fundamentalist, okay, and they follow the original teachings of Buddha, right? And they do not believe in idol worship also. But Mahayana, it is a fusion of Hinduism and Buddhism. They believe in God also. They believe that Buddha was himself was the incarnation of God, and they believe in idol worship or Swarga also. Now we will study about the impact of Buddhism. What was the impact of Buddhism? So first impact was ahimsa, right? Buddhism promoted ahimsa, non-violence, animal protection became new culture. So it has a positive impact on society. Okay, people became ahimsak. Okay, they stopped killing uh, animals. Okay, and animals were protected, and right, they promoted ahimsa or non-violence. Then influence on religious life. Other religious religions like Hinduism started reforming themselves in order to compete with Buddhism. Okay, so this was the second impact of Buddhism. The religion like Hinduism, okay, which lagged behind because of the rise of Buddhism. Okay, it got a tough competition, and because of that, Hinduism did away with the discrepancies or the ills of their religion, and they removed all the bad aspects of their religion, and they started reforming their religion, right, to compete with the Buddhism. Then the third influence was on social life. Depressed classes got an opportunity to uplift themselves. Okay, the in society, the Shudras, okay, and other depressed classes, they got an opportunity to uplift themselves to be treated equally. Then the next impact was political impact. Okay, the republics of Shakya, Vajis, and Mallas embraced Buddhism. Okay, so these all republics embraced Buddhism. Then the last topic of Buddhism is decline of Buddhism. So how it declined? It declined because of the split in Buddhism, because of its language, corruption in Sangh, reforms in Hinduism, and end of royal patronage. Right. So first thing is split in Buddhism. The division of Buddhism into Hinayan and Mahayana gave a serious blow to its prestige, and now so many other sects also exist, okay, in today's world, like Vajrayan, okay, Mahayan, Hinayan, Vajrayan, and so many other sects are also there. Then second means whenever in a religion or in a group, if factionalism or sectarianism is there, then what will happen? Then that particular organization or religion will collapse, will decline. Then the second is language. Sanskrit, which was a tough language to understand, was adopted later on. Okay, this language was adopted later on, and Vedic religion was revived. Corruption in Sangh, the monks and nuns started worldly, luxurious life, which become a reason of its decline. Okay, so monks started taking pleasure. Okay, they started living with luxuries, okay, and they got indulged in worldly luxuries, worldly luxurious life, okay. So that also lead to the decline of Buddhism. Then then fourth one is reforms in Hinduism. It was very very important. Okay, Hinduism was revived by bringing various good changes in it. Okay, and which attracted so many people towards it. The people who left Hinduism and joined Buddhism, they also even came back. Their generations also came back to the religion. Now this Hindu religion. Now end of royal patronage, it is also one of the very important political aspect why Buddhism declined. Many kings shifted their patronage to Hinduism from Buddhism, okay, like in Gupta period. Okay, so this was all about chapter number 3, Jainism and Buddhism. I hope you would have understood everything. You just need to learn all these notes. Thank you so much.